I came home from a 2 4-hour fire shift to find my $34,000 Camry gone. My mother sipped her coffee and said, "I sold it, you're the stable one." She thought I'd stay quiet to keep the peace. So at her 60th birthday dinner, I handed out 6 copies of the forgery report. I am a firefighter. When we walk into a burning building, we don't rush in blind. We size up the structure first. We identify the load-bearing walls. We figure out exactly what we're dealing with before we commit. That's what I did. I took 3 days off after filing the police report. I didn't call my mother back. I didn't respond to Cody. I sat at my kitchen table with every document I had ever saved, and I started building. The bank statements came first. 5 years of transfers to my mother's account. I printed every page and went through them with a yellow highlighter. 47 transactions. $27,340. Let me say that number again. $27,340 over 5 years. Rent assistance when she said she was short. Car repairs for Cody's second fender bender. The deductible on Cody's DUI case. A kitchen renovation she called an emergency. Every payment made without a contract, without a repayment date, without a single conversation about what it was. Because she never called it a loan. She called it family. And I never pushed back, because that's what the stable one does. I tabbed each year with a color-coded divider and moved on. Tab 2, the DMV registration. My name. My address. The VIN for the 2024 Camry. Clean proof of sole ownership. Tab 3. The police report. 2 pages. Near the bottom, the officer had underlined 2 words. Forged signature. I had asked him specifically to write it that way. He did. Tab 4. Screenshots of Mom's texts to Evan, the date, the agreed price, the pickup time. She had texted him at 7 in the morning to make sure he arrived before I got home from my shift. She timed it. She planned it. She did not accidentally sell my car. She sold it on a schedule. And then I got to tab 5. Cody's texts. 2 weeks before the sale. The Camry's always sitting in his lot. He barely touches it. You could sell it, pay your card, give me the rest. He'll get over it. Her reply came back in under 4 minutes. You're right. I'll handle it. Below that, a Venmo screenshot. $6,000. Transferred to Cody the morning of the sale before I had come home, before I had any idea the car was gone, before she sat down at my kitchen table and stirred sugar into her coffee. My brother had spent 2 weeks planning this. My mother had spent 2 weeks agreeing to it. And then they split the money before I walked through the door. I sat with that tab open for a long time. Then I printed it, put it behind the divider, and kept going. Tab 6 was Cody's threat text, the one he sent after I filed the report. Drop this, or I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of person you really are. Dated. Timestamped. I added it without comment. Tab 7 was a single page I typed myself. Summary. What was taken, when, and by whom. 3 columns, no editorializing. Just the facts, in order. I printed everything at the station's admin office at 6 in the morning. Assembled 6 copies. Put them in the canvas bag. 1 for me. 5 for the table. Before I zipped the bag, I made one more call. I kept my voice completely even when Evan Marsh picked up. I told him I wasn't calling to threaten him. I needed him to understand the legal position he was in. The title he was holding had a forged signature on the seller line. That made it fraudulent. If the matter went criminal, he was potentially holding stolen property, which created real civil exposure for him. I told him I didn't believe he had any idea. There was a long pause on the line. She told me you wanted to sell it, he said quietly. That you were tight on cash and she was helping you move it. I asked if he'd be willing to give a written statement to the detective on the case. He didn't hesitate. Absolutely. I paid $28,000 in good faith. I had no idea. His written statement arrived by text that evening. I printed it, added it behind tab 7 as the final section, and labeled it clearly. Buyer cooperation, Evan Marsh. Then I zipped the bag. Even the man she sold my car to was willing to go on record. She had built this entire thing on the assumption that I would stay quiet. In 10 days, she was going to find out exactly how wrong that assumption was. I want to be clear about something. I did not want to destroy my mother. I know how that sounds after everything I just told you. But it's true. I spent 2 full days after building that binder sitting with the question of what I actually wanted. Not what she deserved, not what felt satisfying, but what I wanted in practical terms that I could live with. The detective had been straightforward. The forgery was clean-cut. The DA's office was reviewing the file. Given the value over $25,000 and the use of a forged title, she was looking at a Class C felony. 2 to 4 years, depending on prior record and how the DA chose to pursue it. He said it the way people in that line of work deliver facts, no inflection, take it or leave it. I told him I wanted to explore a civil resolution before formal charges were filed. He paused. Then, we can hold the referral for 2 weeks. But the file stays open, the clock is still running. 2 weeks. I mapped it out on a legal pad. If I absorbed this the way I had absorbed everything else, the math was simple. $34,000 gone. $27,000 already given over 5 years. $61,000 total, extracted from one person, with zero consequence for anyone involved. Cody would keep his $6,000 and call it a win. My mother would go back to her life. And the next time she needed something, she would look at me, her walking ATM, and think, he handled it last time. He'll handle it again. I was not going to let that happen. But a felony conviction wasn't what I was after either. I wanted her to pay back what she took. In writing. With witnesses. In a room where she could not reframe it as generosity or shrink it into a misunderstanding. And I wanted the people she had called to pressure me, every aunt, every cousin, every relative who had told me to let it go for the family, to be sitting at that same table when she signed. Her 60th birthday dinner was in 10 days. Aunt Karen's house. The same people who had called me were already confirmed. The audience was already assembled. I didn't need to manufacture a confrontation. She had scheduled one herself. I drafted a 1-page repayment agreement. $34,000, 36 monthly installments, notarized within 72 hours of signing. I saved Detective Reeves' number under his full name in my phone. I wanted to be able to dial it in front of people, visibly, if I needed to. The bag was packed. The copies were ready. I had nothing left to decide. Then she called. 9 o'clock, the night before the party. Her voice was warm and careful, the version she used when she wanted something but didn't want to ask directly. I hope you're coming tomorrow, she said. It's my 60th. Don't make it about the car thing, okay? After everything I've done for you. I didn't respond. You're the stable one, she said. You'll be fine. She hung up before I could say anything. Which was fine. I didn't have anything to say to her. What I did have was a very clear thought, maybe the clearest I'd had in years. She was never going to call this what it was. She was never going to look at me and say, I forged your name. I took your car. I gave your money to your brother and left you standing in an empty parking lot. That conversation was not coming. Not in private. Not unless the cost of staying silent became higher than the cost of admitting it. I reached down, unzipped the bag, and checked every tab one more time. 47 transfers. A forged signature. $6,000 sent to Cody before I even walked through the door. 7 tabs. 6 copies. Everything in order. I zipped it back up. Set my alarm for 9. And that was the last time I hesitated. I arrived at Aunt Karen's house at exactly 6 o'clock. Not early. Not late. I parked on the street, checked that the bag was zipped, and walked to the front door. Inside, the table was already full. 12 people, the way I had counted. The happy 60th, Diane. Banner was taped above the fireplace, slightly crooked on the left side. Someone had put a flower arrangement in the center of the table. The birthday cake was already on the counter, pre-made, white frosting, her name in pink cursive. My mother was in the kitchen doorway, laughing at something my aunt had said. She saw me come in, smiled, and waved me toward an open chair like nothing in the world was wrong. I greeted people, shook hands, sat down at the far end, put the bag under my chair. Cody was across the table, 3 seats down. He hadn't touched his food since I walked in. He was watching the bag. I didn't look at him. Dinner moved the way family dinners move, slowly, with too much talking and not enough actually saying anything. I ate. I answered questions about the station. I refilled my water glass twice. I waited. When the cake was cut and the plates were pushed aside, my mother stood up and tapped her glass. The table went quiet. I just want to say, she started, voice warm, that family is everything. The people at this table, you've always shown up for me. And that means more than I can say. Everyone raised their glasses. I raised mine too. She sat down smiling. And I thought, she genuinely believes this is over. She thinks I came here to keep the peace. I stood up. I'd like to say a few words as well, I said. If that's okay. The table looked at me the way tables look at someone who speaks at the wrong moment, politely, but with a slight adjustment in posture. My mother's smile stayed on her face, but her eyes changed. I reached down and pulled 6 copies of the binder from the bag. I set one in front of me, slid one to Aunt Karen, one to Uncle Ray, one to my cousin sitting nearest the middle, and placed 2 more within reach of anyone who wanted them. "Take a look at tab 1, I said. No one moved for a moment. Then Aunt Karen, who had always been the most practical person in any room, opened hers. Others followed. "That's 5 years of bank transfers to my mother's account," I said. 47 transactions, $27,340. None of it documented as a loan. None of it repaid. The table was quiet in a way it hadn't been all evening. Tab 2 is the DMV registration for my 2024 Camry. My name, my address, sole ownership. I paused. Tab 3 is the police report filed 3 weeks ago. I opened to it and read the 2 words the officer had underlined. Forged signature. My mother's voice came sharp and fast. "You are ruining my birthday. This is not the place. You chose the place," I said, "when you forged my name." The room went very still. Cody pushed back slightly from the table. "You're tearing this family apart." "I didn't forge anything, Cody." I turned one page. Tab 5 is your text to her. 2 weeks before the sale. Your words, your idea, your plan. And the Venmo screenshot directly below it, $6,000, sent to you the morning she sold it, before I came home from my shift. He didn't say anything after that. Tab 4 is her text to the buyer. She arranged the pickup time specifically so I wouldn't be home. I looked at my mother directly for the first time all evening. She scheduled it around my shift. Aunt Karen set her copy down slowly. She looked across the table at my mother. "Diane," she said quietly, "this is a felony." My mother looked around the room at Karen, at Ray, at the cousins, and I could see her recalibrating. The easy dismissal wasn't landing. The room wasn't moving toward her. "After everything I've sacrificed for you," she started. "Which part of the 27,000 covers that?" I said. She stopped. I put the repayment agreement on the table. 1 page. Plain language. $34,000. 36 monthly installments. Notarized within 72 hours of signing. 2 options, I said. You sign that tonight, witnessed by Karen, and I call Detective Reeves in the morning to pursue the civil track. Or, I picked up my phone, pulled up his contact, and held the screen so the name was visible to everyone within 3 seats. I call him right now. Uncle Ray, who hadn't said a word all evening, looked at my mother from across the flower arrangement. "Diane," he said flatly. "Sign the paper." She looked at me one last time the way people look when they're searching for an exit they already know isn't there. She picked up the pen. She signed without looking at me. Aunt Karen signed as witness immediately after. I photographed both signatures before I picked the page up. I put my copy of the binder in the bag. Zipped it. Straightened up. "Happy birthday," I said. I walked to the front door, stepped outside, and closed it behind me. The night air was cold. The street was quiet. I stood on the front step for exactly 1 second, bag in hand, and then I walked to my car. It wasn't my Camry, it was a rental. But it started when I turned the key, and I drove away without looking back. The repayment agreement was notarized 3 days later. I drove to the office alone, handed over the signed page, and walked out with a certified copy in 11 minutes. The first payment arrived 4 weeks after that, a bank transfer, exact amount, no message. I confirmed it hit my account, logged it in a spreadsheet, and went to work. I didn't celebrate. $34,000 stolen is not a victory when it comes back in 36 installments. It's just the least bad version of something that should never have happened. The detective called the following week. The forgery investigation was formally paused, pending civil compliance. His exact words: "As long as payments continue, the DA isn't moving on it right now. But the file stays open." I wrote the date in my notes. The file staying open was not an accident. That was the point. Cody blocked me on everything within 48 hours of the dinner. I got the notification at 11:43 on a Tuesday night. I made coffee and went to bed. Relatives called. The message was always some version of the same. My mother was devastated. Did I really have to do it that way? I responded once, to all of them, in a single text. She has my account number. She knows where to send the payments. A few of them came around eventually. Not all of them. I didn't need all of them. Here's what I know now. For years, being the stable one was never a compliment in that house. It was an instruction. It meant, You will absorb this, you will not make noise, and you will be fine because you have always been fine. The walking ATM doesn't get to have limits. That's the whole point of the label. I haven't replaced the Camry yet. The parking space in my lot is still empty. The key hook by my front door, the one that was bare the morning I came home and found her at my kitchen table, I took it off the wall. There's a small pale rectangle on the paint where it used to be. When I get a new car, I'll put it back. I'll hang the keys there myself. The stable one keeps his word. That's still true. It just doesn't mean what she needed it to mean anymore.